Audio Echo Digital.
With over 10 years of video experience, he has met and worked with a variety of talented individuals, from actors, actresses, directors, producers, writers, content creators, musicians, and filmmakers. From his humble beginnings as a young volunteer at his local church to becoming an award-winning filmmaker, you get to hear stories of his long journey to success. Welcome to the One More Chaunce podcast, hosted by filmmaker Chauncey Jackson.
November 2011. After editing the Outer Space BTS video, I received another phone call from Natalie. She said that the team liked the video a lot and they wanted to offer me an independent contract for 1 year to shoot videos for Era Records. I was very excited to hear that, and I told Natalie that I would love to take her up on her offer. She said that my first paid gig was a project that Taffy Dollar was working on called Prestige. Prestige is a nonprofit organization that demonstrates the love of God to women and reaches out to them in a non-judgmental and accepting way. Prestige is committed to providing these women with spiritual resources such as prayer, counseling, and mentoring. I am all for nonprofit and volunteer work, which is how I got started, so this new project was very interesting to me. Natalie said that I would need to meet with Taffy personally to get a full breakdown of what she wants me to capture for this particular project. Let's rewind for a minute to my younger days as a volunteer at my local church. I can recall moments where I've seen Taffy in person during church services. She's usually the one who welcomes everyone to the church as well as gives the church announcements. Meeting Taffy Dollar again was nothing out of the ordinary because she remembers me as a young teenager. As we spoke, she told me that all I needed to do is just capture those intimate moments with the women who are out in the streets praying and preaching to the ladies in Atlanta. She said that I will follow the women on a transit van to the location with a police escort. The police escort was with us due to safety. I didn't know what I was going to see, but I knew that this was going to be a very different kind of video shoot. The day arrived and I pulled up to the church parking lot at around 8 or 9 o'clock. The transit van was there and I met up with Natalie and the 4 other women of Prestige. We left the church and we were headed to Fulton Industrial. If you haven't been to Fulton Industrial before, Fulton Industrial is a very sketchy area. The buildings are run down, some of them are abandoned, and there were a few strip clubs and roach motels. The van pulled up to a dingy motel and the ladies exited the van. The van pulled up to a dingy motel and the ladies exited the van. As the ladies walked up to the entrance of the motel, there was a lady in her late 20s, early 30s who was standing outside the motel. The ladies from Prestige walked up to her and began to speak with her. Then they began to pray with her. They then continued to speak with her, and then they gave her a business card. Usually I would be near the subject capturing footage, but Natalie told me that I needed to stay at a distance because we didn't want to make the ladies look like a charity case. So I continued to stay in the van. Thankfully, I had a zoom lens so that I could just capture the ladies walking around the motel from the van. Here's where things got a little bit strange. As the ladies were walking upstairs, Natalie told me that the John is watching you, Chauncey. I was very confused when she said that, so I asked her, who is watching us? She said, the John is watching you from the balcony, so put your camera down. I was like, oh shit. So as instructed, I put my camera down because when I looked up at the balcony on the 3rd floor, I could see a man in a hoodie watching us in the van. In that situation, you would panic, but I had to keep calm and listen to Natalie and the female officer. In that situation, you would want to panic, but I had to keep calm and listen to Natalie and the female officer. The environment that we're in, or some people call it the pimp game, women equal profit for these Johns, and if you are interfering with their property, then you become a threat. Even though these ladies from Prestige have good intentions of actually helping these women, in the mind of a John, you are the enemy. I can recall Natalie and I did an impromptu interview with one of the prostitutes at the motel. She was very open and honest about the lifestyle she lives and what she has seen. She said that she has seen girls as young as 14 years old become involved in prostitution. She said that it's always the drugs that keep them hooked on that lifestyle. Some of the Johns or pimps manipulate them and use them to recruit other girls into this environment. Majority of the time, some of these girls are scared to leave this type of lifestyle. She added that she's seen girls her age end up homeless, drugged out, and or dead before the age of 23. This was probably the wildest shit I've heard and or recorded as a videographer. I really wish I still had the raw footage. However, it's property of Era Records. There was one other moment that stands out for me, and it was an incident in the lobby at one of the motels on Fulton Industrial. It was our last stop for the night, and the ladies of Prestige saw another young girl who was with her pimp. The ladies politely walked up to her and began to just talk. As I was recording, I could tell that the John was very upset and anxious to leave. During the conversation with the young girl, one of the ladies in the group gave her a business card, and immediately the pimp snatched the business card from her hand and just tossed it. In that moment, I was so pissed. Like, what a dick move. But it goes back to what I said earlier, that the girl is the property of the John. When I say I appreciate what these women did that night is an understatement. What the ladies of Prestige were doing was very honorable, courageous, and kind of dangerous, because most of these Johns have guns, so the risk was very, very high. Here's a short clip from the video that I edited back in November 2011 from that night. I will leave the person's name out of the clip to protect her privacy.
Hi, I'm we just finished talking with three ladies, Teresa, Sheila, and Dee Dee. Dee Dee looked very young. She said she was 20, but we have our doubts about that. She was very kind of frightened. She didn't want to be out here. Fanny ministered to her, really loved on her, showed her the love of God, embraced her and held her. And she really responded to that. We offered to, give her an option to come on off the streets, and she wasn't ready right now. So we left our card with her. A lot of the girls, they know the word, they believe in God. I just think they're afraid to take that step.
Thank you for listening to the One More Chaunce podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.